The Valley Railway Series, Book 2, Valley Engines. Dear friends, in my last book, I told you all about how Smudger left Sodor to start his new life. I asked him if joining the Lower Valley Railway was easy. "They got used to me quick," said Smudger. "Everybody except Candy, anyway. She wanted nothing to do with me." He didn't tell me why, right there and then. "That would spoil the whole plot, wouldn't it?" he said with a wink. The author. Lukewarm welcome. Smudger had no idea how long he had been sailing on the ship, but he and the big tank engine presently grew very bored. One evening, a workman came in and opened the door in front of them, the cold air bursting in. Smudger shivered.
"We're here! Your lorry is already here, Smudger, so you'll be unloaded first."
Smudger said goodbye to the big tank engine, and he was rolled out to the ship's deck. From up above, he could see a dockyard bustling with activity. A large crane carefully lowered him down to the waiting lorry's flatbed.
"So you're headed for the little railway? You'd better be prepared. Those little engines have been working harder than ever."
Smudger didn't know what to think, for he was so exhausted from his long journey that he fell asleep at once. The next morning, he awoke to find himself in an unfamiliar shed. To his right was a red tank engine who was getting ready to leave. His nameplate read Edward Mann. To Smudger's left was a very awkward little engine. She was a bright yellow color with a long red buffer beam, and she had a vertical boiler in her center. Her nameplate read Candy. Candy was looking away from Smudger, an indignant scowl on her face. Smudger was worried. "I'm sorry, but did I do something wrong?" Candy didn't reply.
"Don't mind her. She's been that way for a while."
"Why is that?"
It's not to be discussed.
Smudger jolted a little. It was that moment when a distinguished-looking man in very oriental clothes arrived.
"Welcome to our special little railway."
"Yeah, thanks." But Smudger was now looking at the yard, which was directly across from the sheds and sprawled with trucks and coaches. Edward Mann noticed his darting eyes.
"Show some respect. This is our controller."
"Oops, I'm sorry."
Now, Candy, Smudger is new and needs to learn the line. I would like you to take him with your goods train and then show him the slate mine. And no objections.
Edward Mann was also given the job of taking supplies to somewhere called the site. Smudger was coupled to the goods train with Candy in front. As the two chuffed off to their destination, they stopped by a signal. Next to them, on a siding of the big railway, was a large square engine dozing in the sun. He looked very old and tired. Candy introduced him.
This is Takao, the oldest engine on our island. Takao, this is the new engine.
It is a pleasure to meet you. How do you like the railway so far?
"It's been great. Everybody's been so nice. Mostly." Takao chuckled as the two engines puffed away.
Don't you mind, little Candy. You'll get used to her in no time.
The trip to the goods yard was longer than expected. Smudger was worn out, and the sun was beginning to sink by the time they finally arrived and shunted the long train.
It would have been shorter if they'd finished that valley line. It's supposed to make all of the trips much faster by going through the valley rather than around it.
"Well, I hope they finish soon, because my axles have never ached this badly in my life."
Quit your whining. I take this trip every day. Now let's hurry and get to those empty trucks.
Smudger was livid. Even Duke had treated him better than this. The engines were uncoupled, but as they headed over to collect the train of empty trucks, Smudger felt a jolt. Suddenly, he was off the rails. "Well, shoot." Candy had no time to wait for Smudger to be put back on the rails. so she headed over to the slate mine without him. As Smudger was levered back onto the line, the little controller arrived, looking very exhausted.
I'd be cross with you, but we needed an engine to stay here for the night anyway. As soon as you're back on your rails, please shunt the next train and wait in the siding until morning. Tomorrow, as soon as you're done with work, we'll send you to the shed to have your new buffers fitted.
Smudger sighed in relief.
Yes, sir.
He spent the rest of the evening shunting trucks into their proper sidings. The last train to pass through was Candy's, her trucks filled with slate. She didn't say a word to him. All she did was shoot him a nasty look and puff away.